This video is a follow-up to the previous mining video and in response to the many queries I received, specifically asking what is the socio-economic impact of undertaking an operational audit in the mining sector. First, thank you for the overwhelming number of views and positive response to the first mining video. I am humbled and honored. I'm also inspired by the many progressive communications from like-minded Zambians affirming that we, as Zambians, must ensure we are receiving our fair share of revenue from the mining sector. Zambians live in an incredibly resource-rich country with an abundance of minerals such as copper, cobalt, silver and gold. Yet we needlessly suffer with high levels of debt, unpaid wages and pensions, constrained bursaries for students, limited vocational training for our youth and unsupported critical industries such as manufacturing. The Legato Prosperity Index measures prosperity. It ranks 167 countries on prosperity, with 1 being the best and 167 being the worst. It offers insight into how prosperity is forming and changing across the world. In 2021, Zambia ranked 124 out of 167, a low ranking. Zambia's lowest scores were registered in 2 categories: economic quality and living conditions. This contributed to the low levels of prosperity. In order to answer the question, what is the socio-economic impact of undertaking an operational audit in the mining sector, it's important to understand the mineral royalty rate for copper. Zambia's mineral royalty rate is based on the norm price range per ton. The rate applied is based on the prevailing price of copper at the time of production, as seen here. For example, if copper is trading at or above $9,000 per metric ton, then the applicable mineral royalty rate applied is 10%. Currently, copper prices are at about $9,800 per metric ton. Other minerals have a different fixed rate. Cobalt mineral royalty is fixed at 8%. In the previous report, we looked at the mineral trade between Zambia and both China and India for copper and cobalt for the years between 2015 to 2019. It's important to note that Switzerland is Zambia's largest trading partner. In February 2022, according to the Zambian Statistics Office publication titled The Monthly, Volume 227, Switzerland accounted for 41.2% of commodity exports, followed by China at 23.2%. Again, we rely on the reputable United Nations trade data source Comtrade. It records both the reported exports and partner country imports of commodities. First, we consider copper trade from Zambia to China. During the same period, 2015 to 2019, the data reveals a difference of unaccounted for trade of 870,000 metric tons, which is a difference of 42% of what was reported as exported versus imported. If we apply today's copper spot price of $9,885 per metric ton, which demands a mineral royalty rate of 10%, it equates to $860 million in mineral royalty. Next, we consider cobalt trade to China. During the same period, 2015 to 2019, the difference in unaccounted for trade is 14,000 metric tons, which is a difference of 188%. If we apply today's cobalt spot price of $59,215 per metric ton, which demands a mineral royalty of 8%, it equates to $66 million of mineral royalty. Finally, we consider copper trade to India. During the same period, 2015 to 2019, the difference in unaccounted for copper trade was 478,000 metric tons, which is a difference of 172% of what was reported exported versus imported. If we apply today's copper spot price of $9,885 per metric ton, which demands a mineral royalty of 10%, it equates to $473 million in mineral royalty. Sum of these royalties of unaccounted for trade in view of the mineral royalty is $1.4 billion. Let's put $1.4 billion in perspective. $1.4 billion is equivalent to approximately 14% of the Zambian 2022 budget. In other terms, as compared to the 2022 budget resource envelope, it's equivalent to the value-added tax, VAT collection, that is, for the entire budget year. It is also approximately the amount that's been under negotiations with the IMF for the last 7 years, negotiations with 5 ministers of finance under 2 administrations, funds of which are linked to preconditionality. The other advantage of an operational audit with Alex Stewart is the benefit of an environmental audit and ensuring that the mining company adheres to the legislative requirements, avoiding issues that were highlighted in Al Jazeera's report on lead poisoning from the mining sector in Kabwe.
Emuchinda noticed his son Shamaya looked a little small for his age. After blood tests were done, a nurse at the clinic gave her the bad news. He's suffering from lead poisoning.
His condition hasn't changed. He sometimes vomits, has diarrhea, and he's often tired. The clinic doesn't have the right drugs. Last time I got medication for him was in January.
If the Zambian government implemented an operational audit, it would eliminate the discrepancies, recover funds, and direct increased mineral revenues to support sectors such as medical, education and vocational training, bursaries, economic stimulation, and prudent fiscal and debt management. The additional mineral revenue could be applied to the medical sector. Provide increased access to medicines, improve medical facilities with all the necessary staff and equipment. Additional mineral revenue could be applied to education and vocational training. With 66% of the population under the age of 24 and approximately 300,000 students on an annual basis coming out of the education system at varying levels, providing adequate vocational training that is linked to an industrial policy will be critical for sustainable socio-economic development. The additional mineral revenue could be applied to employment creation, supporting industries such as manufacturing that finish goods to locally sourced raw materials, thus adding value but also requiring a larger labor force, which increases employment. The additional mineral revenue could be applied in economic stimulation, investing in technology and other infrastructure. For example, export-focused non-traditional exports, NTEs, could be supplied by Zambia to the neighboring 8 countries. An analysis, for example, in 2018 of the difference of Zambia's total exports to neighboring country imports reveals that the highest demand of items in the region as compared to what Zambia exported is packaged medicaments, which accounted for $1.7 billion. It's important to note that Zambia is signatory to the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which was intended to create the largest free trade area in the world, measured by number of countries participating. The pact connects 1.3 billion people across 55 countries with a combined GDP valued at $3.4 trillion. And finally, advantages include addressing fiscal issues, debt and prudent fiscal management, ensuring that Zambia manage its debt and exercise proactive fiscal policy and prudent monetary policy. Driving accountability and transparency in the mining sector is a critical component of achieving sustainable socio-economic development via investment in you, the people of Zambia.